Mixing doesn't start at EQ, compression, or leveling. Getting a great mix truly starts at the source. The sounds you're choosing based on the genre you're making and the way that you arrange those sounds are the most important things. Most important things. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to choose sounds for any genre, how to tell if those sounds are in fact good, and how to arrange those sounds, which will set up the foundation for a super easy mix. Let's jump in. The first step is to use reference tracks to help guide your ears towards the right sound selection. Finding pro-sounding music that's similar to what you're making is one of the most helpful ways to know what sounds good, and to know what instrumentation to consider using for the genre that you're writing in, especially if you don't have as much experience working in that genre. I'm going to take a listen to this electro-pop song I have loaded up, and I'm going to write down the instruments and sounds that I hear, along with some of the characteristics of those sounds. All right, I'll start with the kick. Pretty round, a little filtered out almost. And it seems to be paired with an 808. And I think I hear two snares happening. They're kind of switching every other one, kind of drum machine snare. All right, so I had a close listen a few times, and I've listed out the main sounds and instruments that I heard, along with a few characteristics of each. We've got that hip-hop kind of round, filtery sounding kick, and that's paired along with an 808. Those are working really well together. We have like a typical kind of classic drum machine snare, and then on every other snare, it seems to be paired with maybe a deeper rounding snare with a little bit of reverb. And we've got some trap-type hi-hats, this really cool percussion loop happening. And then on the synth side of things, we have kind of this big warm pad along with that high lead melody with this kind of cool distorted flute synth soundy thing, which is really fun. And then we have finally those kind of chopped up vocals that are super cool. Next is to have a chart or notepad with the full frequency spectrum label. For my chart, I have 7 different sections where I can organize the sounds I heard in the reference track. It goes from the low sounds like the kick and 808 living in the sub bass and the bass, to the vocals living in the low mids and the mids, to the hi-hats all the way up to the presence and brilliance sections. All right, so I've gone ahead and slotted each of the instruments into their respective frequency areas, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'm gonna use a high pass and low pass EQ to carve out these different sections and see what's actually existing in those areas. All right, so just like I suspected, the 808 is really living in that sub bass range. Now let's have a look at the bass range. All right, I'm definitely hearing a little bit more of the kick, so I was on the right track there. I'm also getting a little bit of the pad as well. All right, let's move on to the low mids. Definitely getting a lot more of the pad. So I'm hearing a bit of the body of the snare in the low mids. The lower tones of the vocals are in this section as well. All right, let's head over to the mid range. The first thing I notice is that flute is really coming in. And now I'm really hearing the snare. The smack of the snares for sure. And the reverb of that second snare is in here as well. I'm definitely hearing more of the vocals too, so that's great. So far I was mostly on the right track. Let's head over to the high mids. Definitely hearing like the shine of the snares. And again, I'm hearing a lot of the presence of that flute as well. So I think it does exist there too. I'm hearing some of the body of the hi-hats too. All right, cool. So let's head over to the presence. Definitely the hi-hats are shining through the most here for sure. And we're getting a little bit of shine of the flute too, but just that really high shine of the flute. A little bit more of that high snare energy is there as well. All right, last but not least, the brilliance. Yeah, again, that's like just that extra shiny stuff of the hats and the snares. Boom! Now I have a better idea of what to search for my instrumentation for this style of music. And you can do this for any genre. The more you do it, the more familiar you'll be with the genre, and you'll be more comfortable writing in it. It also gives you a peek into different artists' arranging techniques, which is really inspiring. Having an instrumentation prepared before you go to write anything is going to speed up your workflow by 10,000%. That's right. 4 zeros. Looking for sounds can be the ultimate flow killer. And if you're using MIDI, you can always change the sounds after the writing process. If searching and finding sounds while you're writing works for you, more power to you. When you're looking for sounds, try choosing just one sound for each frequency spectrum, especially in those bass frequencies. This isn't a hard rule. It's just a rule to help you focus on keeping things simple and to choose sounds that aren't clashing and that are actually essential to your arrangement. All right, so let's pull up Lander samples and look for a kick. In the reference track, I noticed that the kick Had a pretty hip hop feel to it, even though this is an electro pop song. And it seemed almost a little bit filtered out, a little bit muffled, pretty round. I'm gonna look for a kick that shares in those characteristics, and any that I think might match, I'm gonna mark with a heart. That one's pretty close, but not quite. It's more of an 808. Ooh, yes, I think this one can work. That one's cool too. And then I have my kick pattern. Look at that, the magic of television. All right, so I found a kick sample that I really like. I've loaded it into the track, and I've created a kick pattern that's kind of similar to the original reference track, but let's have a listen and compare to see how similar they are. I think it's pretty close so far, but I think that 808 is gonna bring it to life. All right, so I've gone ahead and found some fun samples and sounds and instruments that I think match the reference track pretty well. Let's have a look. So I've got the kick that we had from before, and I've paired it with an 808. Nice. And I've added those two snares with every other one being a little bit deeper, and it has a little bit of reverb on it. Awesome. And then I found this great hi-hat loop, these trap hats that I found in Lander Chromatic. Awesome. And for the percussion, I found a great loop in Chromatic as well. I used this Diva synth, Diva, to help bring us that big warm pad that was in the reference track. And then finally, most importantly, we have that main lead melody line with that really cool sounding flute. And again, Chromatic just happened to have this really cool loop that I ended up using. Nice. Now let's listen and compare it with the original reference track. Not too far off, and I haven't really used a plugin at all or changed the faders. Now I have a solid foundation with a pretty full sounding arrangement and very little frequency clashing. But how did I know that these sounds actually sound good? There are 3 elements that lead to a good sounding sample or instrument. Number 1, the performance. Is it a great performance? Is the singer in time? Is the guitar in tune? And obviously loops and recorded material are more heavily weighted here compared to one-shots or synths. Number 2, wide frequency response. Is the sound rich and full of frequencies? This is a bit subjective though. If you're looking for a round sub bass, it's not gonna live up in the high end. Overall, a sound that has a wide frequency response sounds good to our ears. Weak sounds can be salvaged with plugins, but it's easier to get it at the source. Number 3, dynamic range. A sound that has an unaffected dynamic range is going to provide you with more options down the road. If it's squashed by a compressor, or really quiet, or too close to the noise floor, or too loud and getting unwanted distortion, that's going to give you a lot less control in the mix. Remember, listening for these things takes time and practice. Use reputable sample libraries, good instrument plugins, and capture great performances. And make sure you gain stage your sounds. Different genres also call for different characteristics. A lo-fi kick drum isn't gonna fit with an EDM banger. That's it for this one. Leave a comment below and let me know, how do you know if a sound is good? How do you know? Do you have a super secret site where all the sounds sound good? Lander. Are you a sound librarian? Lander. Do you own a vault of sound? Lander. What is a vault of sound? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Okay, see you next time.